Hello there friends and welcome. It's Morgana here with today's painting. Today I'll be demonstrating for you this lovely dandelion clock scene amongst a clump of pretty spattered meadow flowers. As you can see, I'm beginning with my dandelion stems already drawn, and I've masked them out with some drawing gum so that they will remain white after I've put on the background wash. This is my Perylene drawing gum that I used today. It comes up this lovely blue colour, and it means that the shape of the dandelion clocks, those delicate little seed heads, will be protected as I put on the background wash. I've chosen to do 5 stems today, going by the rule of odds, the rule that generally an odd number of things looks more aesthetically pleasing to the eye than an even number of things. So going by that, 5 stems, 3 of them are the little delicate seed heads there. You can see the one on the left is already missing some of his seeds. We've got one little bud, the second on the left, and the little one at the bottom is of course a little bald seed head. He's lost all his seeds. I've already also masked in a few extra little wisps of grass there as well, you can see down the bottom. And now I'm beginning with my colours. We've got the background nice and wet, get a lovely big wash of water over that whole piece of paper. I'm using cotton paper today so it stands up really nicely to the water. I'll pop a full list of everything I'm using in the description below if anybody's interested. But now we're starting with this beautiful sky blue paint that I'm just bringing down from the top right hand corner in a sort of sweeping diagonal movement towards the centre of the page. This is actually my homemade sky blue paint here from Davidson's Pigments range. I'll pop a link to those below as well if anyone's interested. But you can very easily use a beautiful cerulean blue or cobalt or a phthalo blue, a lovely warm blue for something like this beautiful summer scene. And I'm introducing now some sap green as well. This is Winsor & Newton Cotman Sap Green, which to me is just such a lovely sort of bright spring and summer colour. And I'm drawing it up using the same sort of quick diagonal strokes up from the left corner to meet this lovely sky blue coming down from the right. Because our paper is lovely and wet, these two colours are diffusing and blending really nicely when they meet. I want a nice interesting wash here. I don't want a sort of a hard sort of diagonal or straight line where the colours meet. I want this green to give the impression of this lovely sort of meadow grass springing up behind these pretty dandelions. And because we do need some dark colours in there as well for the tonal values of this piece, I'm now introducing a little bit of Perylene Green. This is a lovely rich dark almost ivy coloured green when used in its most rich sort of form. You can see I'm using it quite diluted here to begin with, and I'm using a small flat brush, and I'm using the edge of it to put in these sort of fast strokes that look like sort of background blades of grass that are going to diffuse beautifully as well. And now for an extra pop of colour. This is a beautiful, beautiful bright yellow. This is permanent yellow that I'm using today, and just splattering it on there using the fan brush quite liberally. This is going to be the start of our beautiful sort of loose impression of some background meadow flowers into our little dandelion clump here. And now, in the same way, a little bit of mineral violet, this beautiful bright purple colour. I'm splattering that on quite liberally. It's quite a loose mixture of paint, so you can see as soon as it goes on, it sort of blooms out and diffuses into the soft background colours really nicely. Don't need it to be too bright or too dark or too rich a colour at the moment. I want to keep these colours nice and light for now, because this is our first layer of wash. We're going to put on another layer of paint after this has dried. For now I want all the colours to really soften into one another and to just look really natural and diffused. Of course, you could use any colour you like for this. I chose the yellow and the purple because I think they worked really nicely together. But if you have other favourite colours, if you favour a red or an orange or something really bright and vibrant, then by all means go for whatever makes you happy. Choose whichever are your favourite colours. That's what I always say, but it is so true. Always go with what makes you happy. You can see I'm using the fan brush here to just stroke in a little bit of extra detail with the Perylene Green into this sort of clump of meadow grasses here. And now just adding a little extra splatter of purple for good luck. Now I'm just going to be using ordinary table salt today to create an extra little effect here. This is going to create some little blooms of white if I sprinkle the salt onto the paper while it's still wet. So I'm concentrating it around the dandelion seed heads to give the impression of these little seeds in the background drifting up and into the sky. You can see I'm sprinkling it quite delicately, and I'm focusing it around the seed heads, and the motion my hand is making as I drop the salt, I'm trying to give the impression of the drift up and away to the right, being carried by the wind away from the main body of the flowers we have here. I know it's a little hard to see with the light. I do apologise. This is what the salt effects look like about a minute after I've put them on. And this is what it looks like when it's dry. You can see my colours have faded a little bit as it's dried. It's gone quite pale, but you can also see those lovely salt effects that I was talking about coming up from the dandelion seed heads there. It looks like a little drift of seeds already making their way up and into the meadow and the wide world beyond, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So now I'm using this Pro Arte Sword Liner brush to emphasize these grasses here. Now that that first wash is dry, it's time to put in our second layer of paint. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm using a combination of the Perylene Green and Sap Green here, and I'm beginning to build up the body and detail of this lovely clump of meadow grass. I'm using my brush to follow almost the lines that I've already put in with the masking fluid to echo the directionality and the lines that I've already created. Of course, when we pull the masking fluid off, they'll be left there in white, so you can always go over the masking fluid like I'm doing here, and it will look like your grasses are behind or in the background of whatever you've masked out. Which is quite a nice effect to have. It means that you don't need to worry too much about foreground and background. You just put in those beautiful grasses wherever they need to be. And of course you could use any fine brush for this, whatever takes your fancy. A rigger brush perhaps would serve you just as well, something with a nice fine point, and preferably something that holds a decent amount of water and paint so you can get these lovely long unbroken lines. Now I'm using a foliage brush here. This is my Matthew Palmer Tree and Texture brush. And I'm using it with a little sap green mixed with a little yellow, just to liven it up a little bit, make it even brighter and more lively. And I'm just dabbing on these little textured clumps here around the bottom and just starting to bring up this texture up some of the stems of the grasses and creating a little bit of extra depth here around the bottom part of the painting, where the grass would naturally be thicker and there would naturally be more texture. all we're doing here is starting to build up a little bit of deeper, richer colour. So now I'm layering up with the slightly darker green as well. There's a little Perylene Green in the mix here. And all you want to do at this point is literally just build up and darken up a little of this bottom part of the painting, just to give the extra texture. It doesn't matter if you don't have a tree or texture brush, using any sort of rough bristled or soft bristled brush to just dab on some interesting marks here that just look sort of pretty and delicate. You can see I'm adding a little bit of extra dark around the dandelion seed heads because I want a little bit of dark background around those, because obviously the masking fluid is going to rub off and leave them bright white, and I really want them to stand out. So I'm introducing a little bit of extra dark around there and really just popping it wherever you see fit. You can see I'm using the brush quite lightly to create these little puddles of texture. I put a little bit in this extra bottom right corner as well that looked a little bare to me, so I decided to give it a little bit of extra detail. So now I have actually added a little bit of purple into this texture here. Again, following my gleeful purple spatters earlier, just carrying on with the same colour theme, adding in some darks and really just bringing this painting to life. You can see that it started off very pale and all sort of one tone really, it was all one tone, but now we're adding in these darks and it's giving a little bit of extra life and liveliness into this painting. But now I'm adding in some more spatter here. See, it's very easy to do just with the fan brush and just tapping it firmly against the wooden handle of my other paintbrush. Just spattering on some more colour, just going to start building up these lovely lively purples and yellows now, these lovely meadow colours I've chosen. You'll notice as well that I'm not too concerned about starting to go over the little white marks the salt has made, because a lot of them are still peeping through where I've spattered on my colour, and it's also giving the impression that the little salty seed heads are sort of drifting up from the middle of this lovely clump of meadow grass. I don't want them all to be sitting front and centre, right at the forefront, the foreground of the painting. I want to add a little bit of depth and distance, and that's helping me do that. And of course, just like you can use whichever colours you like for this, you can add as much or as little texture as you like. You can see I'm bringing this yellow now with the texture brush, and I'm bringing it quite far out of this clump of grasses, lovely drifts of yellow paint into the blue. Of course, you don't have to do that, you can keep it focused around the bottom part. But now, now the magic happens. I'm rubbing off the masking fluid here and revealing our beautiful dandelion seed head. You must wait until the paint is fully dry on the paper to do this, otherwise you will get smudges and smears and it'll be terrible. But here we are now with all the masking fluid rubbed off. This is all the white streaks that we've got. You can see those lovely dandelions are ready to be painted, ready to be incorporated properly into this pretty painting. So I'm beginning here with the dandelion stems, Of course, the instinct is to go for a green colour, as with any sort of plant stem really, a green or a brown. But if you actually look at dandelions, quite often they have this remarkable sort of soft sort of blush pink colour, which I'm imitating today by using some light red paint. This is Winsor & Newton Cotman light red, diluted down with an awful lot of water into this lovely soft, almost buff pink colour, which I'm using more and more water and just drawing it down these the 5 main stems of the dandelions, and it's really helping them to stand out and look authentic against this lovely clump of grasses. I just skipped ahead slightly there. You didn't need to see me paint all those stems in, but you can see we've got this lovely sort of soft pinky red colour on all 5 of our little stems, which I'm now incorporating just lightly into the centre of the seed heads as well. Now I'm introducing some darker tones and just getting a little bit of shadow and shape on these seed heads. I'm using Perylene Green and a very fine brush, and you can see those marks that I'm making look like the little actual base of the feathery little dandelion seeds that are still attached to the centre of our dandelion clock. You can see I'm only putting them around this sort of bottom left hand side, and it's given them this wonderful shape already. They look more real, they look 3-dimensional. It's remarkable what a simple little bit of shading can do. Of course, you could use a dark brown or something for this as well, like a raw umber perhaps, but the Perylene Green is on my palette and it's so pretty, so I decided to keep using it. I'm also using it to put the little lines of foliage, little lines of green at the top of this closed up dandelion bud here. Now this was actually a mistake. I had far too much paint on my brush. I'm just using a piece of tissue to wipe the majority of it off. You can see how dark that Perylene Green is if it's not properly controlled. So I've wiped off the majority of it. It has smeared a little bit, but now I'm making the most of that and having this lovely dandelion bud quite dark on the left hand side. And I'm going to introduce some much lighter green, some more sap green on the left side, and incorporate them both so we get this lovely light and shadow, this play of light on that bud. So really it was a happy little accident, as dearly beloved Bob Ross would always say. And just bringing that Perylene Green up into the white space where those little tufts of seed are just beginning to poke out, giving that a little extra texture and just finishing that bud off beautifully. And now, just to finish this painting off, I want to incorporate the dandelion stems we've just painted in. I want them to look as though they're growing up from the middle of this lovely clump of grasses. I don't want them all sitting right at the forefront of the painting. So I'm using my liner brush again to put in some more lovely bright lines of grass, following those white grass lines that have been left by the masking fluid. I'm not covering those completely because I do like having some of the white paper peeping through. I think it gives the impression of sun glinting off the leaves. I think it looks lovely and pretty. You can see just going around the base of this painting and just really bringing those dandelions properly into our beautiful meadow. And now for our last little bit of extra texture, I'm using our foliage brush again and lightly dabbing on some very thick yellow paint, so it's coming up nice and bright against this green. Just dabbing that on gently there to introduce a little bit of extra colour and a little bit of texture around the dandelions and just in the foreground here. And here we are with the finished painting. I hope you all enjoyed watching this. I hope it inspires you to perhaps give these pretty dandelions a go. If you're interested, I will be making the outline that I drew for these dandelions available for download on my Patreon page. You can find a link to that below. But thank you everybody for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And once again, I'm so grateful for you all for watching. I really hope you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever you're doing. I hope you enjoy the sunshine. Hopefully there is sunshine wherever you are. And I'll see you all again in the next video. So that's goodbye from me for now.